A luxury handbag can cost $10,000. A luxury watch can cost $50,000. A luxury car can cost more than a house. Yet in many cases, the materials themselves account for only a tiny fraction of the final price. So what exactly are people paying for? Leather? Steel? Fabric? Not quite. The answer is far more fascinating and far more unsettling, because the world's most successful luxury brands aren't selling products. They're selling psychology, a carefully engineered perception of status, exclusivity, and identity, one that convinces ordinary people to spend extraordinary amounts of money. The hidden mechanism isn't found in the factory. It's found in the human mind. And once you see how it works, you'll never look at luxury the same way again. Luxury has existed for centuries. Kings displayed gold. Nobles commissioned paintings. Aristocrats wore rare fabrics. But modern luxury brands transformed status into a scalable business model. They discovered something powerful. People don't buy products because of what they are. They buy products because of what those products say about them. That insight created one of the most profitable industries on Earth, because status is one of humanity's oldest psychological desires. Long before social media, people were signaling wealth, influence, and belonging. Luxury brands simply industrialized the process. The first tactic is scarcity. The hidden psychology behind scarcity is simple. The harder something is to obtain, the more valuable it appears. That's why many luxury brands deliberately limit availability. Waiting lists become part of the experience. Certain products are difficult to purchase even if you have the money. Some customers must build a relationship with the brand before gaining access. From a traditional business perspective, this seems irrational. Why refuse willing buyers? Because exclusivity increases desire, and desire increases demand. Luxury brands understand that accessibility can be dangerous. The moment everyone can have something, it becomes less special. Then comes pricing. Most businesses compete by lowering prices. Luxury brands often do the opposite. Sometimes they raise prices specifically to increase perceived value. The logic sounds absurd, yet it works, because consumers often associate high prices with prestige. The price itself becomes part of the product. A $5,000 handbag doesn't merely carry belongings. It communicates a message, and that message can be worth more than the physical item. Then there is the environment. Walk into a luxury boutique, and you'll notice something unusual. Silence, space, minimalism. The experience feels nothing like a crowded retail store. That's intentional. Every detail is engineered to slow customers down, to create emotional distance from everyday spending habits, to make the purchase feel significant. Luxury brands aren't selling objects. They're staging rituals, and rituals create emotional attachment. The most fascinating tactic of all may be social proof. Humans constantly observe one another to determine value. Luxury brands leverage this instinct with extraordinary precision. Celebrities, influencers, athletes, executives. The objective isn't merely exposure, it's association. When consumers see successful people using a product, the product begins absorbing their perceived status. The item becomes a shortcut, a symbol, a signal. And that's where luxury becomes incredibly powerful. Before we uncover the most profitable psychological trick in the entire industry, take a moment to support the investigation. If you're fascinated by the hidden systems shaping consumer behavior, corporate power, and financial influence, subscribe to the Wealth Code Chronicles. And if you're enjoying this analysis, leave a like. It helps us continue exposing the invisible mechanisms operating behind the world's biggest brands. Now, here's what luxury companies rarely advertise directly. The product itself is often secondary. The real product is identity. People don't simply buy luxury watches. They buy the feeling of success. They don't simply buy designer clothing. They buy belonging, recognition, validation. The hidden mechanism is called symbolic consumption. Consumers use products to communicate who they are or who they aspire to become. And luxury brands have mastered this better than almost anyone. Their advertisements rarely focus on technical specifications. Instead, they sell lifestyles, private jets, exclusive parties, elegant architecture, beautiful destinations. They're not showing products, they're showing futures. The customer isn't buying a handbag, they're buying a story about themselves. And stories are incredibly valuable because once a product becomes connected to identity, traditional price comparisons become less important. Logic becomes weaker. Emotion becomes stronger. That's why luxury remains resilient even during economic uncertainty. For many consumers, luxury purchases aren't expenses. They're investments in self-image. And self-image is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. If you want to decode the systems behind these consumer empires and understand how brands influence decisions on a massive scale, check the first link in the description. Because the people who understand psychology gain an advantage over those who are simply reacting to it. The next time you walk past a luxury store, pay attention. Look beyond the products. Observe the lighting, the architecture, the atmosphere, the emotions being created. You may realize that the most valuable thing inside isn't sitting on a shelf. It's the perception being sold. Luxury brands understand a truth that most businesses never fully grasp. People rarely buy what a product does. They buy what a product means. And in a world driven by status, identity, and perception, meaning can become more valuable than the product itself.